Yes, welcome aboard the bus. It's a wee one-off special and annual review. You will recognise the guest we've got. It's Big Tony for the Four Tims. We did the same thing last year. Have a wee look back at the season that was. But of course, because of the current madness that's going on, we'll probably have to have a closer look at the present as well. Tony, welcome aboard the bus again, mate. How you doing?
Good to be on. It grows every time I've been on. So I can see you've shortened your intro. The last intro was about 15 minutes, so that's quite handy. No, good to be back. Speaking about a fantastic season that kind of ended in quite strange circumstances, whereby the manager left about 2 or 3 days after winning the treble, and there's been a lot of fallout since. But I think if you want to talk about the season first, there's a lot of great memories for this season. And a treble, world record 8th treble, which is phenomenal.
Aye. Well, what we'll do is we'll get stuck into the season that was, and then we will obviously get your thoughts on what direction Celtic should take, what direction we think Celtic will take, and you know, all in between as well. Before we do that, we'll do all that good stuff. So if you are jumping on the bus now to get the show as many passengers as possible, do hit that like button if you possibly can right now. Give a wee share, slag my hair, nobody cares. If you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, like so many have, all the content member on the bus is always free, but there is an optional $1.99 a month to become a member if you so wish. It keeps the wheels on the road, is entirely optional. And remember, don't forget our brilliant sponsors, ED Pharmacy. Tony, I should have told you about this. I should have got you to do the spiel, mate. So ED Pharmacy are
drugs on your podcast.
I've got a sponsor. We've got a couple of sponsors. ED Pharmacy, for any erectile dysfunction treatments, they will not let you down. If you want to stay up all night long like Lionel Richie, then get involved. If you want to be like Danger Maida and not Dirk Berichter, scan the QR code, use Bus 10 at the checkout for 10% off. They extended the 10% off discount by a further month because so many of you horny bastards were checking out the site and using that code. So a big thank you to all that have supported it. And remember, if you are around the Central Scotland area, they offer free same-day delivery service 7 days a week. And for the rest of the UK, they aim for next-day delivery. Order cut-off 6 p.m. And remember, piesports.com, a tasty 12.5% discount at the checkout using Bus 1888. Right, Tony, enough of that shite.
All right, cool.
Brilliant, eh?
I thought, is this a fucking wind-up? But Jesus. Right, okay. Well, anybody that can't get it up, obviously go for Ed Pharmacy, E Pharmacy.
I want me to start the show to. Probably should have prepared you for that, mate. But here we go.
We're going to be promoting paracetamol and brufen or something. I wasn't expecting it to be erectile dysfunction, but for the horny Celtic dads, I'm sure it's worth it for them.
Nah, you know it, mate. Okay, going into this season, Tony. Again, a lot of the media, I wouldn't say Celtic fans for that point of view, but a lot of the media, for whatever reason, were wanting to, rather than focus on Celtic's incredible 32 unbeaten league sort of match sequence that led us to that title and showed, I think, undeniably they were the dominant side in the country and were the superior one. They would rather focus on a beaten Europa League finalists that they decided were going to be the favourites again going into this season. I've got to be honest, though. I think, Tony, from a Celtic point of view, we were all pretty confident. I wouldn't even say quietly confident, but we were all pretty confident we could do the job again this season, you know, based on what we'd seen the year before.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that in his first season, you do need to remember, he did beat a European finalist to the title, and we gave them quite a few dues. Obviously, the 3-0 game at Celtic Park is probably one of the most kind of iconic matches under Ange and probably in kind of history against Rangers. What's your tiffle? Is that Budweiser?
Just sorting out the hangover, man.
And then obviously when he beat them at Ibrox, that was a big one to win the league. So I was confident we were going to win the league this season. But I can still admit that you thought they would probably be a threat because the fact they did a European final, they'd beat us in the Scottish Cup semi, and then they got a draw at Celtic Park where it wasn't the best kind of second half performance for us despite taking the lead. So, but I think when we beat them, Tony's my spirit animal. When we beat them 4-0 the first game. I mind saying to people, that's it, the league's done. Obviously, we kind of had a few blips in between with St Mirren beating us, but I just thought then that they looked broken, and I think they should have sacked Van Bronckhorst earlier. But obviously they didn't. At the time they did, we were 9 clear, and I think as much as Beale talks some amount of absolute nonsense, he has done well in terms of beating the absolute dross in this league. He seems to have mastered that quickly, but he struggled obviously against us when push came to shove. So as much as people were saying it was over in November, there was a lot of pressure still on us. I mean, they had nothing to lose.
I agree, pal.
They'd already lost the league by November, and they seem to play before us a hell of a lot to try and put any pressure on us, but they failed. They didn't fail, but we obviously just kept winning, and we went on that great run from beating. I think we beat Aberdeen, and did we draw? I think we beat somebody else, and then we drew with them at Ibrox, and then we won all the games up until we won the league. I think we might have drew with Motherwell just before we won the league, and then they lost to Aberdeen. So. The league was
still getting the point that weekend. That was right.
Exactly. So I think when the league finished, we were 13 points ahead, which shows how superior we were. I think it ended up 7, but the fact that the manager says at the time he was deliberately making changes to the team, and that didn't help. Obviously, Hibs beat us, Rangers beat us 3-0. I think we drew with St Mirren. I think the only other game we won was obviously the 2-0 game v Hearts to win the league, then 5-0 last day of the season. But again, you can't really criticise them for changing it. When push came to shove, we won all the important games we needed to win. The League Cup final, the Scottish Cup semi-final and the final, and then we won the league out of the park. I think we probably just about won it when we beat them 3-2 when Kyogo scored the double, and then Jota scored as well. So a fantastic season, but there was pressure on us, and they performed quite well. I think they get 92 points. I think last season we won it in 93, so probably most other seasons 92 would probably have done you the job, but no, I think the players have been excellent this season. I think Jota's been great. Carter Vickers is an absolute fantastic player. Hatate when he's on it, and then Kyogo every big moment this season was involved. He's scored a lot of very important goals. It was creeping in because he hadn't scored into Rangers last season, and then scored at Ibrox, scored against them at Hampden, scored against them at Celtic Park. So he very quickly get stuck into them, and they struggle to deal with them big time. So Champions League, you could probably say, was a slight disappointment, but I think you could see we were trying our style of play. We're just going to take our chances, which was the main issue there. Obviously, I was hoping Big Ange would have another crack at it, but he's fucked off, so it'll be somebody else that'll have a crack at it.
It's one of those things. I think that when you look at the final table, it can be a wee bit misleading, because the other thing is, I actually think Mickey Beale did probably as well as anyone could have expected him to do from the position he took over in. He took over 9 points behind, and he lost the league when it was 13 points. Now, for context, and this is a point Phil McGinley raised on Bustalgia, Tony, you'll love this. See the Tony Mowbray year? Celtic finished 6 points behind that season.
Yeah.
Now, that to me was a season where we were about 20 points behind in my mind, you know what I mean? Like, we felt never in that race. And yet, come the end of the season, Lennon won 8 games, but the league was already done by then, and suddenly it looked a completely different sort of angle on it. So I think it's getting dressed up in any way that suits them from their point of view, and it's their gift to do that. That's fine. We can only deal with the actual facts. And Ange won the league 13 points clear. He'd actually done better in that period than Mickey Beale, which, to be fair, I actually expected him to do as well, because we were already top by then and looking good. They sat the manager. They sat the manager who'd had success in Europe. We went into Europe full of expectation, full of hope, not expectation, I should say. Now, it's interesting, you felt Van Bronckhorst, who you think should have been sacked earlier in terms of the league.
Yeah.
But realistically, I would have thought people from another country, for example, then would look at the Scottish League and go, what do you mean you're getting rid of a manager who won a trophy only 3 months ago or 4 months ago and got you to a Europa League final 4 years ago, spent no money? Is that then, when we look at Celtic going into the Champions League, maybe a rub-off on that? Well, we're not saying we're okay with 2 points, but is there just not as great a focus now on European football because it is such a one-off sort of scenario to do well in Europe? And really, if you're not doing it in the league, that's what our main bread and butter is. Obviously, it'll always be their bread and butter. Has that still got a lot more outweighing sort of importance than what Europe does?
I think the Europe and winning the league kind of coincide with each other, because you win the league and then you get to Europe and you want to stay in Europe to get more funds, to grow the team and win the league and yada, yada, yada. I don't think it's a case that we just accept that we can compete in Europe. I just think we play in such a terrible league. The league is symbolic, and this is the first podcast I've done since Hans has left, and nothing's convinced me more that I want to leave Scotland. Teams like Leicester taking their managers, Spurs, Bournemouth, Southampton taking their players, Crystal Palace, and I mean, you can put all the clubs together and they don't have the size of us, and it's just we're kind of handicapped due to the league we play in. So it's easy if you play Ross County on a Saturday and then you're away to Bernabeu on the Tuesday. I mean, how do you compete? I just think we really, look, somebody's just said it there, the SPFL is dross, it's garbage, absolute garbage. The team that finished third get beat off Darvel. I mean, and Aberdeen comfortably third. Motherwell put out of Europe by, was it Sligo Rovers or somebody like that? It was somebody.
Dundee United were beat 7-0 by AZ Alkmaar.
Yep, there you go. I mean, stuff like that. It's just, and don't get me wrong, we've not been great in Europe, and I admit that, and it's all well and good saying with a good 60 minutes against Real Madrid, but when push came to shove, we missed our chances and we get punished. That's the level you're playing against. Shakhtar Donetsk, we should have beat them away. Didn't take our chances. We drew. Then Leipzig, I thought they were much better than us for both games. They beat us quite comfortably. I think I was there in Germany. I think we had 2 goals that VAR overruled, and then they still beat us 3-1. So, and then the Bernabeu was there. That was good fun. I must admit, I enjoyed going to the Bernabeu. But again, you miss a penalty against Real Madrid, you're going to get horsed. You can't really miss chances. But again, the other problem is everybody keeps saying, right, we need to make a mark in Europe, and we do need something. But let's say the group gets drawn and we get Man City, Real Madrid, and I don't know, maybe Leipzig again. I mean, I mean, do I think we could get in against Man City? No. Do I think we would compete with Real Madrid? Just sign Bellingham for 100 million? No. And people are probably watching this going, oh, but that's how it is in Scotland. And I get that. That's how we win in Scotland. We spend more and we have better facilities, etc., etc. And I'm not diminishing these clubs' achievements. I think they still need to perform. They're under good pressure, or massive pressure. Look at City. A lot of people having a go at Pep Guardiola, but he's done very well. A lot of the clubs in that kind of the kind of top leagues, they all spend billions of pounds. So, but I think that this felt like the season that Ange was really going to have a crack at the Champions League, and there was a bit do something. And I enjoyed the way he went to teams. Don't get me wrong; it probably a bit more pragmatic at times would maybe have helped us, but he doesn't change his style of play. That's what I liked about him. It'll be interesting to see what he does with Tottenham, because he's going to be up against your Guardiolas and Klopps. I'm assuming he won't change anything. He'll just go for the win and invert their fullbacks and press high and never stop and all that stuff. So, but that's why I think your job's very attractive to whoever wants it. I mean, we're in a good position. We've got a good squad, a lot of young players that are improving, and then you've got the Champions League, whereby you've got a chance to make a mark. But I'd like to see us do something in Europe. I mean, the fact we've not won a post-Christmas game or knockout tie for 20 years is pretty scandalous stuff. It's really poor.
Well, I agree with that. The knockout stuff really frustrates me with Europe. And I think as well, one of the things about the group stage in the Champions League, when you look back at if we go right back to the start of the season, obviously we had the summer window. I put up a tweet saying, I said, keep your eyes on the board, people seem to think that makes you off your head, even though they were the same folk demanding they were sacked a year before. I just didn't get that. I don't think there's any consistency there. I was all on board with it a year ago. Then I'm like, you should change your mind quick. What's happening here? I looked at the summer window, and I think the Aaron Moy signing as well. I copped a lot of flack. I said it was an underwhelming signing. I think bar 3 months, I was proven right on that. Not trying to be a smart ass after the event. It's just what it is. He's a 32-year-old freebie who hadn't played in 2 years. Bear in mind that's going into a Champions League group campaign now. When you look at the other players we brought in, what impact did they have in that Champions League campaign? Jens is the only one who played 6 games, and he got shot at him in January. I mean, it does. You've got to look at that window and go, I'm not going to say that means Ange wasn't backed. But whatever it was between them, last summer, they did not, I don't think, tool up that team as well as they could have. Now, I appreciate there's a balancing act because you can't just go all in. Do you know what I mean? And then if it fucks up and you still end up with 2 points, you go, what was the point in that? What benefits it got us? I get that. But I do feel like you should always be seeing guys you've brought in the summer that have been signed on a permanent deal, firstly, having some sort of impact in whatever European competition you enter, because that means you're looking at all the tournaments that you're entering at the beginning of a season. However, January looked like we were heading in the right direction. I have to admit, I want your take on this. We'll talk about, obviously Johnston's been a real hit. I think O's goal record now stands up, and maybe there's been at times you've maybe questioned sometimes how he's looked, but then in others I go, he's a wee bit raw around the edges, but I see enough good stuff in him. I think he should have been brought in as the third striker, not a replacement for Giakoumakis. But the question I put to you as well is, in terms of those departures in January, and you've just spoke there about the money flying about in the big leagues. You're talking about money, not just in the big leagues, in every other league in general now. It's completely inflated prices from what we're accustomed to in Scotland and Celtic. Were you surprised that your top scorer for last season left the club for £4 million? Were you surprised? Croatian international, Josip Juranovic, I think that was his tagline, wasn't it? Croatian international, and he played very, very good World Cup the month before January, and he leaves for just £7.5 million. Did they seem like low fees that we were selling for in Jan?
Massively, especially Juranovic. I thought Juranovic should maybe get 15 million for. I mean, done well in the World Cup and was a very good player for us. Giakoumakis as well was a goal scorer. First touch wasn't great. He was always very. Well, his first touch finishes were great, but I like Giakoumakis. I like Juranovic. I like O. I really like Alistair Johnson. I thought it was a bit strange. I thought Juranovic maybe 15 million and Giakoumakis maybe, I don't know, 10. I mean, you look at the money that is flying about these days, it's pretty mental stuff. So disappointing to lose him for that. To get back to the summer window, obviously Jota and Vickers getting signed permanently was a big bit of the budget gone. Aaron Moy, I thought, done well after the World Cup. I thought he performed well, especially at big points. I thought he was really good in the League Cup final. Who else did we think? Signed Jens. I thought Jens was okay, and then that was it. It was just bidding for Starfelt. The second Starfelt come back. I like Awata. When did we get Awata? Was Awata?
January.
Yeah.
Freebie.
I like Bernabe's no worked. Siegrist hasn't even played the cup game, I don't think. Who else? Haksabanovic, I like Haksabanovic, but
he was playing the month of November, wasn't he?
Aye, he done really well. I think the game Van Bronckhorst gets sacked. Did he score the winning goal against Motherwell at Ross County or something like that? And I do like him. He just lacks a bit of pace, but I think he's a good player. But yeah, it was mostly the same guys that had done it the year before: Kyogo, Maida, Jota, McGregor, Hitati, Riley, Vickers, Starfelt. It was Greg Taylor. A lot of it was just when you think your starting lineup, Alistair Johnson goes in, but none of the signings in the last year, apart from him, go in because it's all players we've had for a while. So,
and that was the expense of Juranovic, not to supplement that as well. That's the thing. So it was like you did lose a first team player for a first team player. Well, ideally, and I know it's not an ideal world to live in, Tony, but we're allowed to demand things, we're allowed to be greedy, and you do want, I would like to have thought we could have maybe tried to have signed players of the same, if not better ability than what was already there. I don't mean a whole team of it, I'm not ridiculous. 2 or 3, supplement it, and I hope that's what the aim is this summer. Notwithstanding that, I do think as well there will be the odd departure for us to prepare for also. But that's just part and parcel of it, and I get that. That's not something I think we can have any gripes over, despite the fact we'll have gripes over the manager. Talk about the League Cup final. Kyogo comes to the fore and gets his 2 goals. It was funny it became 2-1. I thought we might run away with it when that second goal went in early in that second half. But it just again shows how important it is to win the first tournament of the season. I know we were in a strong position in the league, but I just think it's the first cut is the deepest, as they say, Tony. And I think that was when they were. I think Mickey Beale had been spouting by this point a record amount of pish. I know no one can say the word pish quite like you, Tony, but no, but no one. He has spouted so much leading up to it. He was really going into a cocky sort of mode where I don't know if it was he was trying to get in the minds of them under Angie's skin, and it was Jedi mind tricks ahead of the League Cup final. I think he was believing his hype, and boy oh boy was he getting a lot of hype. I watched one of the Endless Celts pods around February time, maybe just leading up to that League Cup final, and Stephen Tomlinson on it said, I genuinely think the media like this guy more than they like Gerrard. Because I've never seen someone who's done fuck all get spoken about like he's an absolute genius. He was like, it's bizarre. And the more you looked at it, but I suppose the media are going, but he's gold for us. You give him a mic, he'll talk for 4 minutes. A bit like me. But like, do you know what I mean? You're like, you ask him one question, he gives you 17 answers. But I think leading up to that final, he was in full sort of gallus, pompous mode. He was feeling full of staunchness. And I think he thought, I've got this gig sussed already. Just a wee bit wet behind the ears, Tony. It can happen. And that slap down in the League Cup final, Kyogo, the guy that all had said for the previous 18 months was pish because he couldn't score against them, has now scored at Ibrox in the last minute and a double in a final. And the outcome, as it always tends to be, is Celtic lifting another trophy.
Yeah, I think there was obviously a lucky man comment, which I think it must have got under Angie's skin because he used it to whack him over the head with quite a lot. Even his departing speech, he brought it into it. I think there was all this talk at the time about Cantwell and Raskin, they're going to do this and that, and then Michael Beale didn't play them. He played, I think, Lundstrom and somebody else in the midfield, and we were the much better team. At 2-0, I thought they were begging for a tanking, and they definitely were, and we just couldn't get the third, and then we can see a set piece shocker. But I think that just summed up Morelos' time at Rangers for me. Scores in a cup final, his first goal in a cup final, and they lose. But after they had a kind of spell, you know what they're like. They put crosses in for all angles, and it's percentage football. Eventually, the ball's going to drop to somebody. That's the way they set up and played. But once Ange made the subs, he brought Awata and O on, and I thought O just drove us right up the pitch, and we were quite. Haksabanovic could have scored another 2. I think O'Reilly had a really good chance as well. At the end, that could have been 4 or 5-1 easily. But no, I think that set the tone. I think that put them back in their box a bit, and that was it. It was a great trophy to win. You couldn't really bear the thought of Ange losing a trophy to a guy that had managed about 20 games. It would have been a bit ridiculous, and it could have derailed the season to an extent. It could have knocked the confidence, and it would have given them a massive boost. But no, they had every opportunity to stop us doing a treble, and they failed. They had the Scottish Cup final to stop us. They couldn't. They stopped play and made it picked up, and obviously Jota scored. So at Celtic Park, they probably could have done better. Didn't take their chances. Again, Morelos missed a really good one. Scored one, but it was after an assault on Alistair Johnson at the back. It was rightly disallowed. So I think Beale can say what I don't really pay any attention to the guy, to be honest. I get people get really wound up by him, but he doesn't really particularly bother me. I must admit, I don't really have anything to say about him. I think he's done okay. I think next season will be difficult. I'll say that much. I think the league's a poor quality. I think they'll beat most teams. It'll probably come down to the derby games. So I'd probably bring my point that I want Brendan Rodgers back.
Well, yes, and we are going to be talking about that, and I think we share the same view on that, Tony. We were chatting about that last week on the old. We DM sometimes, and we were chatting about that the other week. I slide into Tony's DMs inbox, and we were chatting about that, and I think we share a lot of the same views on it, and we will be discussing that as well. But yeah, just to wrap up, obviously the season was getting described. We're not talking about the Mickey Beale stuff, but what we can do is look at the sort of reaction and I think the wee bit of wetting of the bed, Tony, that occurred with regards to a few poor performances in the league after the league was won. Now, I tried to be quite diplomatic at the time. I think there was a natural drop-off because of the fact that the job was done. I think that's human nature. I think even in terms of I know the mantra is we never stop, but you fucking do, right? Once you've done the job, of course you do. I think O'Neill's team were on course for record points. They lost the last 2 home games in the first season he was there. It can happen. Now, what then occurred was obviously losing at Ibrox. Again, that intensifies the narrative that, had Beale came in earlier, this could have been a different story and stuff. But then final day of the season, trophy day, Celtic knew they had a duty of responsibility to the fans to put on a show for trophy day, and they delivered and they ramped it back up to the standards we'd sort of been used to seeing. The cup final, I expected this to kick on for then. I actually thought we could win that by a record amount of goals for a cup final. Billy Dodds, it's fucking Billy Dodds, do you know what I mean? The same way Alex Ferguson used to say, it's fucking Tottenham. It's fucking Billy Dodds. I'm like, they're not going to be up to much. However, we made a bit of a slog of it. It wasn't quite what I'd anticipated based on the Aberdeen game and based on my belief that when it matters, this team turn up. That's what I thought, and I was subscribing to that. Now the dust is settled, the most important thing, Tony, was getting the cup final won and getting that treble in the bank. Like you said, a world record 8th treble. Is that 6th treble in 8 years or a 5th?
Fifth in 7 years.
5th and 7.
It was garbage. It was absolutely shite. It was a terrible.
I agree.
Couldn't put a pass together. If it would have been a team slightly above Inverness's calibre, we might have been in a bit of trouble. But it was a dreadful fucking game. I thought it was going to be 6-0. So the flow with them, but you don't know if that point the players maybe knew that the big man was for the off. But in terms of the loss at Ibrox, I mean, their players were playing for their careers at Ibrox. We were trying not to get injured, and it wasn't really you never want to lose to them. And obviously, some of our best games at Ibrox have come after we've won the league. We beat them 3-0, if you remember. Moravcik's double and Larsson scored, and then under Rodgers, we'd won the league and we tanked them 5-1. So performance was unacceptable. I think people can admit that, but at the time I just wasn't interested in going mad about it. And I mean, even the manager was saying to you, I'm deliberately making changes here. I want to give other players a chance. It's my fault. I think he called it downtime or something like that regarding this point in the league. The Hibs game I didn't even watch. I was out doing something. So I seen people panicking, people going off, we'd play like this, Inverness will beat us. I don't think we were ever in any danger of Inverness beating us. That would have been probably one of the biggest shocks in Scottish Cup history. So
I know.
I just couldn't be asked going mad about games. It was good to the end of the season. Everybody's talking about the 8th treble. They're not going, mind Hibs beat us 4-2 when we won the league. Nobody gives a shit now. Nobody cares. And that's why at the time I thought, I'm not going to entertain this. If we lose the cup final, I'm 100% I'll go nuts.
Yes.
And I'll look back and go, this was unacceptable, and he let this malaise set in when he done this, that, and the next thing. But that's not what happened. We won the treble. We had a great season. The players done their job, and that was it. I thought you did have it. Is that somebody obviously came on to see me and now they've stumbled upon your channel? I fucking carried me.
That's about Tony, mate.
God, I can't resist. My infamous Axon rant that put you.
Oh mate, it's just a classic moment. I hadn't even seen that clip getting the traction it had. It was one of my Rangers supporting mates sent me it, and he was like, "This has been doing the rounds for months." I was
Yeah.
like, "You fucking what?" And I must have been nervous that day because it just me. I keep looking at the wee fella, and then I keep looking at you. I'm like, when you're talking, and,
I actually started using that clip myself when obviously we're getting trounced and people were kind of sticking into them. Twitter, I started using the video. They're ripping the pishes and Twitter, so it was good to see it go full circle. So yeah, I never get back on them eventually. It was a hard slog that season. A lot of angry people still talk to me. They'll meet me in pubs and stuff and say, "Oh, your rants were great that season." I was like, that plummeted my mental health. That fucking rubbish with Lennon. But no, and I mean that's probably why I won't go in too hard on Ange because he kind of saved us for. I thought the Rangers were going to do 3 or 4 in a row after the 10 in a row season. I thought we just fell off a cliff, and he came in and he changed everything, and I can only really be thankful. Well, I'm humming on. I've been up and down a bit, Big Ange. I thought he was my mate, and then he fucked off. It was actually, I spoke to him in his presser the night before the Aberdeen game, and he was talking about the next season, and as if it was going to be here. But again, I don't think he ever thought Spurs would come calling. I never thought a team like Spurs were going to come for our manager, and I think again he was a bit of a lucky man because Nagelsmann knocked him back. I think Hans Slow for Feyenoord knocked him back.
yes.
I can only assume that Lewis and Wiki didn't want it, or they would have gave it to him. So I guess it was too big a job for him to turn down. A 4-year deal at Spurs, you're probably talking about 30-40 million he'll make, whether he sees it out or no. And I think he fancies himself as one of the best managers in the world. And this is probably his opportunity to get Spurs into the Champions League. He gets to go up against Guardiola, Klopp, Ten Hag, De Zerbi, Mauricio Pochettino going to Chelsea. I mean, it's just such a big opportunity for him. Lennon made me give up podcasting.
Johnny, I want to dip into that just very quickly because that's how, obviously, I knew who you were when I met you. That day at the podcast because I'd listened to the 4 times a few times, and I was in my mind. I was like, I wonder if you'll be the same on that platform as what he is in his own. Thinking, just from an observational point of view, I was like, surely he won't. And you just were. It was fucking brilliant. They filtered it all, and I was like, this.
The episode before, but I think it's obviously it must just have gone. I don't know if it was a live stream and it just deletes after a period of time. But I think that was after Rangers beat us 2-0.
Yes.
We'd been garbage the whole season, and that's when I just says we had to sack Lennon. I think it just got a lot of people talking, and then from there on, it was just a bit of a disaster this season. But I can look back and laugh now that we've got another treble. I was looking back, funnily enough, at messages I'd sent people when Ange came in. And I remember somebody asked me, because we get invited by Dominic Mackay at the time to go to his unveiling, the fan media thing. And somebody said to me, what are you going to ask him? And I think I said, obviously as a joke, I says, I might just ask him to fuck off. Because I had no idea who Ange was. And I was thinking, mind at the time, I was like, I remember Eddie Howe to the tune of Bella Ciao every night out for months, just singing about Eddie Howe. And Celtic at this time had kind of bridged the gap, wanted to communicate, and we got into a few press conferences with Kennedy and Brown at the time. And I was in Derry, and the night before I was at a wedding. I spent the whole night saying to people, Eddie Howe's going to come in, going to revamp. And I got a call for Celtic, and it was the Eddie Howe deals fell through, but were far along with another candidate. And I thought, fucking hell, I made my hangover about 10 times worse. And then before we knew it, this guy was kind of odds on, Ange Postecoglou, and never heard of him, never knew a thing about him. But at his unveiling, when I think I go to ask him a question and Dominic Mackay a question each, I remember saying there's something about him I like. And he's, even though the Champions League, he didn't get enough time, we were always going to fall. I was playing fucking Dane Murray, I think, at centre half, who was a young boy, and Stephen Welsh, and then think Hearts beat us the first league game. I think my text to people was, that's the league done. How wrong was I? And then after that, we get 2 back-to-back 6-0 wins against Dundee and St Mirren. And I thought, I like this guy's brand of football, it's great. And I just bought into it. And then I know Livy beat us and Rangers beat us. Rangers probably shouldn't have beat us. Edward missed a really good chance that day. Livy beat us, I think we had a Yeti up front, so I was kind of saying, look, we'll wait until Kyogo comes back and give this guy a proper crack. But after we beat Aberdeen up at Pittodrie, Jota scored with a few minutes left, that's when everything changed. It was great since then. If it wasn't for Cameron Carter-Vickers missing that chance to put us 2-0 up in the semi-final against Rangers last season, Ange would have won a double treble. Which is mad, because we thought a double treble now was seen again. It was very close, but 5 out of 6 isn't bad, but it's not quite 7 out of 7 like a Mr. Rogers achieved.
Oh yes, nice segue there, Tony, because from a lot of doubt, and I had a lot of doubt as well, Tony, when Postecoglou came out, I was probably, if I wasn't even that vocal about it, I just got asked a question and gave an answer, and I stuck to it. And then obviously the start he made had been so fucking bizarre. I thought, what the fuck is going on here? We're just not used to this. Do you remember Gordon Strachan was brought in?
Yeah, he was still with Dundee at the time, wasn't he? Was he working for us?
Dual role.
Yeah, it was a bit strange.
It was.
Oh, I think it must be him too.
So, I don't know. But I want to talk about, firstly, how we've arrived at Ange leaving. And then we'll look at, obviously, who we're going to get to come in. So I like balance to the debate. And I think the very easy way to look at it, and it's not because I don't share some of these views, because I do. I think there is bits of it where he's maybe been a wee bit misleading, to say the least. I think terms like he's a rat and stuff, I find is too far. I think to then start over-analysing, punching a badge. I mean, what the fuck do you want this guy to do? Tony, he came in, as you've just told us, I'm agreeing with, on a hiding to nothing, an unknown entity to most of the fans. So you're going to need to curry favour somehow. You're going to need to get them on side. I think to then troll back 2 years and say he spoke about being an immigrant and stuff. What the fuck did he know about going to Spurs then? What are you talking about? Like, he's got to at least, and I don't think he went as far as the Danny McGrain stuff with Brendan Rodgers at that. And by the way, your caricature of what you've had in Brendan Rodgers on social media, you and the Four Times podcast, has absolutely made me laugh so much. So, like, they've created this whole different version of Brendan that I hadn't even really contemplated before. It's comedy gold. And I watched that clip.
I'm not Brendan Rodgers, but I have heard that the Danny McGrain story was not true. And my source is Danny McGrain. So I asked Danny, I was on the phone a couple of months ago when we'd done a kind of short signing with him, and I spoke to him for about 15 minutes, and I said, Danny, I'm sorry, but I need to ask you the Brendan Rodgers story. That's not true. But he did say he liked Brendan, and he was a very good manager, but I think, again, I mean, Brendan Rodgers is a very, very smart man. Everything he done was so calculated, and it worked. And the fans talk about, I've never had a relationship with Ange. The fans were Rodgers daft. The fans loved Rodgers. All managers have been a god at one point, apart from Mowbray. Lennon was seen as a kind of godlike figure at the time. Martin still is, and rightly so. Strachan, I'm sure, was heralded at different times when he gets some massive scalps in Europe. So everybody's had their kind of... Everybody's a hero at times. In terms of the chest pumping thing, I don't have an issue with that. Players celebrate after the game. I think his stories about being an immigrant and enjoying Celtic, I think, were legit. I don't think it was a bullshit act. I think when he said in February, you'll be surprised how long I'll be here, he was right, because I was fucking surprised to see that he left 3 months later. So he did right in mind. So he did that. And again, I don't think he ever thought Spurs would come in, and I think people are very quick to just turn, and I get it. And I was obviously annoyed that he left, but I'm kind of fed up just moaning and greeting about people leaving Celtic. I'd rather just say, you've done your job. But I think, don't be worried about players or managers leaving. See if the guy you've sat next to for 20 years, if he's not back next season, or the guy you go out for a pint with, if they're not, or the guy you get drunk in a casino at 5 o'clock for a lot of people, probably me. If I'm not there next season, that's when you should start to worry, when the fans aren't there, or the people that, because that's what the football is. If 90 minutes is good fun, but then it's all about getting a drink or going for a meal, staying out, singing the songs, having a laugh with your mates or your family. I mean, as long as it's very cliche, but the fans are always there, as Anne said, and obviously Tommy Burns famously said himself. So for me, it's a case of thanks very much. He done a fantastic job. I thought he could have became a Celtic legend if he signed a long-term deal. I don't doubt. I think he would have. If he signed a 5-year deal and seen it through, I think he would have gone down as the best since Steen. I think he would have eclipsed anyone. I think he would have eclipsed Rodgers in terms of trophy count and marking. But he didn't. He left, and that's fine. I mean, I get it. As much as I'm sure he enjoyed his time here. Whenever I spoke to him probably 10 times. I met him a few times. Very genuine, nice guy. There was an aura about him. But at the end of the day, we're paying thousands to go to Celtic Park. They're getting paid tens of thousands to come to Celtic Park. They're not doing it because they're Celtic daft. They're professional people who are very ambitious. He's a very, very ambitious guy, and for years he's probably been kind of a bit of a laughing stock, but he bounced about Australia and Japan, and nobody actually ever took him on. Now the biggest league in the world's offered him a position. It's probably a very attractive position for him in terms of it's a big rebuild, all the pressure's on him. I think he loves that. Stock changes. Pretty much. I mean, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with phone. I mean, I loved Ange. I mean, there's no two ways about it. If you see my social media, I was every time I was at a press conference, I would wait outside the door and get a picture with him like a big fucking wave. I go in the top for me, and then I loved it. I mean, there was probably times where we were winning, kind of happier for him than anybody. The first League Cup final, for example, because he'd been laughed. He said himself, it was a joke appointment. For him to get the first silverware, I thought, oh, fucking, he was really lost it. He was keen at all that. And they're allowed to fall in love, but I think there needs to be a realism there that he's not a Celtic fan. He's a fucking football manager who is so obsessed with being the best in the world. That's why I think Rodgers is a good appointment. If Rodgers comes in for 2 years, we all know that he'll leave for a bigger job, but he'll probably be successful here. He knows he needs to be successful. He won't get another job. He's the continuity candidate. In terms of building a dynasty at Celtic or a 5-year plan, I don't know if there's any manager out there that's wanting to stay at Celtic for 5 years. Unless they gave me the fucking job, I would stay for 5 years. But we wouldn't win it. And that's the thing. I mean, there's no many players that, I mean, the likes of McGrain who stayed forever, Tommy Burns, McStay, the days are done. Obviously, McGregor, and credit to Forrest. But if Tottenham came in for Callum McGregor and offered him 5 times his wages, is he going to go? Probably. And I get it. It's everybody's ambitious in football. They don't think like us. They don't have the same kind of mindset as us. We think we're the best club in the world and everybody should want to stay here. I think Ange misstepped a few times with things he said, but am I going to sit and analyse it to death? I'd rather celebrate my treble and maybe move on, as I say. As long as I'm still at the football with my dad and my mates next season, that'll do me fine. As long as we're still at Celtic Park, that's all that matters.
I think you've nailed it, mate. That's really well put as well, Tony. I'm very much in a similar camp. I don't hold it against in the way some people have. And obviously, we do these shows live, and you see all the live comments coming in, and there's a lot of emotion, and that's okay as well, because you're allowed to be, as you say, in love or emotionally attached to not just the club, but everything connected with it. And I get that. I just like to sometimes just take a step back and maybe have a realistic sort of take on it. There's 223 people watching live right now. So if you want to give us a wee like and a wee share whilst you're in there, that is always much appreciated. If you're new to the channel, give us a wee subscribe. If you want, of course. It's up to you. Right, okay. Ange departs with my best wishes. No, I'm not. I'll be undeniably have a vested interest in what Tottenham do next season as well, and I admit that. And that's not because I'm a huge EPL fan, but I'll be a lot more curious to pick up the remote and check the English scores. Do you know what I mean? Or I'm talking like I still use teletext. Go on BBC Sport online or something and check the English Premier League scores just to see how big Ange is doing. I think that's the very intriguing prospect as well, how he does cut it at the top leagues. One of the other things though is, where Ange leaves, another has to come in. Now, you talk about 5-year plans that I think people are really sort of looking at as if that's the norm now. Tony, the league Ange is leaving for we all seem to accept, and there's nothing wrong with that it is a superior league. It is the elite league. All managers, including, as you've named, Peps, Klopps, want to manage in. That is the end game for elite managers, is that league, let alone a Celtic manager going to a top 6 side in that league, right? Now, in that league, it's the average tenure of a manager is 1 year, 244 days or something. Right?
That, to be honest.
Well, fair enough. That
I'm
was
just,
as a,
some of them are quite funny. Somebody says a battle of the mullets tonight. I don't think I've got a mullet, have I? Have you got? I don't know. You've got Liam Gallagher haircut on it. Really?
Mate, the comments can be savage, mate. I'm all for it though. I like all the banter. It's good.
Yeah, I've had all the criticism about my hair off the other mobs, so I can take anything. I can slag. I've had it all. Mark, I hope Spurs get fucked. I've been enjoying reading his comments on Twitter. He's been off his heat all week. So does he still take it?
Mark's got his own show, Judgment Day, so that gives him like an hour just to sort of dish it out. But in fairness,
He'd fucking Prozac after listening to that, man. Fucking hell.
See, the thing is, Mark on Twitter isn't quite the same on camera. I think in Twitter you only get 120 characters, so he'll just go in for the kill with his 120 characters. If he's got longer to speak, you can kind of, the points make a lot probably up.
Easy hope Spurs gets fucked. You know what? I don't know. I mean, I think Ange going to Spurs directly for us is a good thing for us in terms of attracting managers. And I think if he does well, it might be good for us as well. So, to be honest, I don't really care. I probably will. I'll be intrigued to see him against Guardiola and Klopp and stuff like that. I want to see style. There is a part of me that's kind of fascinated to see it, but whether he wins, loses or draws, it won't have any effect on me.
He said he's the voice of reason, Tony.
I don't know about that, man. Fucking voice damn. Some of the Twitter comments, and to be fair, I don't think Ange ever kissed the badge. I think he I'm just reading some of the comments. You're gorgeous, Tony lad, Stephen Kenny. Thanks very much, mate. Much appreciated. But you obviously be fucking blind. No, I think it'll be fascinating to see Ange in the Premier League, but I'm more intrigued to see how we do next season. It's a massive season for us. You don't want Rangers get back in and win the league, and as I say, I think it'll be a hard season. That's what I do want Brendan Rodgers for the job. I just think he's a very good manager. Take away the way he left, I still kind of blame the board for that, to be honest. And the people say, if Rodgers would have left at the end of the season, he wouldn't get any stick. But Ange waited to the end of the season, and he's a rat and a bag stumper and a crazy guzzler and fucking fuck knows what he is. He's hated by people now. So I think, for me, it's just time to accept that football managers don't love your club. They're there. People are going to use it as a stepping stone. It's garbage, but there's nothing we can do. I would advocate for leaving the league the fucking day before tomorrow as quickly as possible. If they offered us the National League in England, I would take it, because I think we would win it, and then I think we would go up through the leagues, and I think that would bring further investment and we'd be able to grow into an elite club worldwide. But for as long as we're in Scotland, as I say, we're trying to handicap, unfortunately.
Yeah, I wonder if what we maybe are missing when caught up in the emotion right now is, whilst we know the league's garbage, etc., it's one hell of a selling point for the Celtic job, not just the group stage football in the Champions League, not just Celtic being in a financial position of real strength, which they will be able to flex to an extent. They won't obviously do it to the extent we all want, but they will be in a position this summer, with the right guy there, with the right persuasive skills, to actually get a chunk of change out of that board this summer, I think. But not only that, as you say, if it is Stepping Stone FC, we've now got our last manager. What did he go on to do? He went to fucking Spurs, mate, straight for here. Now, as you say, all these managers are highly ambitious, career-driven, I should say, characters. Now, that's going to pique their interest a wee bit when they see Gerrard went to Villa, Rodgers went to Leicester, Gerrard went to Villa, and now Ange went to Spurs. That's not the worst conveyor belt. Albeit Gerrard was a flop at Villa, it still shows that those clubs were taking note. now you could argue that it's because of Gerrard's name. It's not the point. They still went to the SPFL and still took the manager. And I wonder if Ange going to Spurs is the real sort of. That's the sort of. I think that's probably directly from Celtic anyway as a manager. That's got to be the biggest club departure he's went. Someone's left Celtic for.
For what I can think, I mean, Spurs are a typically top six side. They have been for many years, obviously finished eighth. When you look at Spurs' last two managers, Antonio Conte, Jose Mourinho, even Mauricio Pochettino, and now Ange Postecoglou. So I think a lot of the Spurs fans are probably feeling a bit like we were at the start. Going,
I think so.
But we'll soon find out. But I think, for me, I think that would maybe make your job appealing to somebody like Graham Potter, who is quite similar to Rodgers in the way that Rodgers done great at Swansea, then went to Liverpool. Potter done very well at Brighton, then went to Chelsea. I think people can admit Chelsea were a total basket case, new owners, a bit of a fanny. Signed a lot of players, but it just didn't work. So Graham Potter's somebody that I would be happy with. I know a lot of people want Knutson as well for Bodo Glimt.
Yes.
Hollis does in the Conference League. I think he's done a good job there. Somebody we probably are looking at. I don't want Enzo Maresca. I just, for the last 6 months, we've slagged Rangers for employing an assistant manager, and now we want to employ Pep's assistant. Don't get me wrong, he must know something about football if he's with Guardiola every day, but his stint in Parma obviously didn't go well. I think if we get him, then it would tell me that we are 100% a member of the City Group and they just haven't announced it. That would tell me we must be some kind of partner of the City Group. There's too many links in connection with them. So who else is there? Daniel Farke, don't want him. I couldn't deal with that. A fat guy with long hair. If he goes bad, then my clip will be all other place. So we'll give Farke a miss. Who else has been mentioned? Desmond Buckingham. I mean, guy manages one of the City Group teams in India, I think. Again, I think that guy was in a fucking stag doing. Somebody took a picture of him and he came out 60, 61 to 3-1, just nonsense. I don't think the bookies have got a clue. Davy Moyes, I don't think his is a good switch for Ange, but obviously he's just won a European trophy, so he's got a lot of experience in the game. I think he's staying on for a year anyway. Who else has been mentioned? Got John Kennedy. You'd like to think he's picked up something by now, but I think he wants to move to Spurs. But my only thinking is that the board might offer him the top position if they're that desperate for him to stay. But I think the way things are looking is maybe between Brendan and Enzo Maresca. And for me, you need to go with Brendan Rodgers. He won 7 out of 7 with us. Done very well at Leicester, won an FA Cup. He beat the then Champions League winners, Chelsea, in the final, beat them 1-0. So as much as people don't like him and he's a rat, and whatever people want to say, he's a very good football manager. And Bhoycie make me want to be in. It's 11 a.m. San Francisco. Fuck, I wish I was in San Francisco. You get followers all over the world.
That's it, mate. Global. Just get cracking into the beer San Fran Celtic. You'll love it.
The TV must be fucking shite in America if he's watching that. Jeez,
Tony, I look at that list of managers that you say, and I would whittle it down based on the reports that we've seen, not based on any fucking ITK knowledge that I don't have. I don't have any. I think you're absolutely right. I think it is going to be a Dermot Desmond production, and we get Brendan Rodgers. Because if anyone's got powers of manipulation, it might be Brendan, but if anyone's got powers of persuasion, it's Dermot Desmond. He tends to get what he wants. I think had Ange, it's hard to even explain what situation it would be. I think had Ange signed a new contract and then left maybe a year down the line, always rose in the garden. He picked up another couple of trophies next year, say, and had made, I don't know, even if we've still finished bottom of the group, we won maybe like 4 or 5 points. I finished third and got Europa League. And, after the 3 years, you went, you know what? We're coming at the end of the road here. He's announced he's leaving at the end of the season. We all shake hands. I think Desmond might have been more open to what the board would want, and I think that is using their City Group link, connection, partnership, whatever you want to call it. I think because I've got a feeling he's a bit bitter. I think he's offered Ange a new deal. I'm making this up. I'm making assumptions up.
He wasn't happy with Postecoglou. Again, not in the
That's what I think.
I'm just repeating it, but I was told that he wasn't very happy, and I can understand that because they kind of gave Ange free rein. They brought him in for Japan, not to this side of the world. They really heard of him, but again, Postecoglou done us a turn, we done him a turn. We get a rate Treble, he gets the Spurs job. Well, that's it. We move on.
That's good business. That's good business at the end of the day. And the good thing is, though, we were talking about the fans being emotional. Dermot Desmond obviously can be emotional. If his emotion right now, Tony, is anger, I get the feeling that suits my wants best, because I think I would be really worried about a Maresca appointment. I don't like the fact he was someone on the shortlist 2 years ago, Tony, that we were looking at. And then is suddenly, we used to laugh at the transfer list. Remember, it was just all the same players before. Remember that famous transfer list that was leaked?
A bit as well. That was a thing. You get leaked for Lannistown, so that shows the level we were operating at the time. I'm just reading the comments. People make a good point. If it was Rodgers, surely we would have announced it by now. But you don't know. They're very good at keeping tight lipped. There's not been any real proper rumours circulating regarding who the next man be. I don't know if Rodgers. I mean, Rodgers says in 2009 he would definitely come back. So I think a lot of fans have kind of softened towards him now. This would be a good potential time for him to come in if he's successful, does well in the Champions League, wins cups and trophies. He can maybe leave a legend, because I mean, anybody else that done a double treble for us or put us on our way to a quadruple treble would be a legend. But Rodgers and Lennon don't quite get in there. Well, some people say Lennon's a legend, but not me.
Oh, we know. We've definitely got different views.
Maybe
on
that's
that.
what they are getting annoyed at Ange. I've used all my hatred of Celtic managers up that one season. I've mellowed a lot now.
That's what it is. That's what it is. You got it all out that year. You got it all out, mate. You're more of a Zen character now, man. But I think with Rodgers, it would be something that I think Desmond would be wanting to push. And I think it works two ways for me. I think there would need to be a compromise on both sides. I think Dermot might be the one who would say to Rodgers, look, I'll sort the wages stuff. The money stuff's fine, like you did last time. You'll get treated with that respect, but you're going to need to work better with that board this time. Do you know what I mean? There can't be any of the fanning about in the media with comments and stuff. If you're unhappy, do it professionally. If you're going to fuck off to China, tell us. Stuff like that, right? But I'll now go to them and tell them what I think. They got it wrong last time. See if he tells you he wants a player, fucking go get him. If it's not, just because it might break your transfer record by 500 grand. If he's got you 2 Champions League group stage football campaigns, 2 seasons in a row turning over £100 million, and he wants a player, Castagne, for example, for 9 million, or he wants John McGinn for 2.8 million, deliver them for him. Stop fanning about. Do you know what I mean? I think that would be the sort of back and forth that we need to happen, that there was assurances on both sides. None of that was going to be repeated. But I still feel that can be overcome. Those hurdles are there that can be overcome. And I think you're absolutely right. The compelling answer to be the next Celtic manager, based on the names we've seen so far, and of course, Postecoglou didn't enter the race till the last second and got the job last time round, so nothing would surprise me. But let's just say we have whittled it down to the right, and we're right on what we're saying. I would be not even close, 100% in the camp. Brendan Rodgers over Enzo Maresca. Every day of the week, twice on a Sunday. That's what I would want.
Just reading the comments, I can see Brown Warrior saying that he's leaving Leicester on a low. He left Liverpool on a massive low when they sacked him. I think they sacked him really early into the season. The 2 seasons prior, he nearly won the league. The season after that, it was garbage. I think the last game, Stoke beat them 6-1. And he started really poorly, so he was in a low when he came the last time, and Potter's in a low, and I think these guys see us as a good way to build up their reputation, where really there's only going to be, it's either you're going to win the league or Rangers are going to win the league. You've got probably, say, 60-40 in our favour because of the budget we have, and we've got a better squad of players, I believe, at the minute, so I think that's what makes our job attractive. So we'll see who. I would be happy with. I think Mark says obviously the good things Rodgers done. The only issue is if he's going to clash with the board again. If that's going to happen, then the board wins. He's not going to sack all his board and bring Rodgers in. But I think for me, Knutson, Potter, Rodgers, I would be happy with. Jesse Marsh, a terrible couple of years at Leeds, and I think Leipzig sacked him as well. He was good at Salzburg, but don't know if he would hack it up here. And
Was he not manager at Salzburg when we played them?
I don't think so. Well, no, maybe he might have been. Was he when they beat us under Rodgers?
I think it was.
They beat us home and away, 2019. I don't know.
Was it Marco Rose?
Was it? Jesus, I wanted him. He's done well since. He's quite a few
He is
jobs.
very good.
I think he was the Dortmund manager, but did he work out? And then is it Mönchengladbach or somebody like that? Or just, I don't know. He's went to somebody, and I think he's Leipzig now. He's Leipzig, isn't he?
Aye, that tends to be the trajectory of travel. The Salzburg to Red Bull.
Mark Snutson. Who's Jansen?
Jansen's the Easy Dartmouth manager.
Good team. I thought it was one of Andy's most impressive victory when we beat them.
Yes.
I was happy to beat them. I think they're a good team.
I just wonder if the Knutson one would come in. I think he would be. I mean, he would be far from the bottom of my list. I just wonder. I think he would be someone who would be coming from a peripheral league like Ange was. Would he be able though to do what Ange did in terms of the knowledge of that Japanese market was such a weapon that Postecoglou had? So he didn't just come from a peripheral league. He came with. Let's be honest, he actually brought the reigning player of the year in Iwata just in January there. The year before that, he brought in Rio Itati, who'd won 2 titles there. Kyogo was playing Iniesta. Some of the, he cherry-picked, let's be honest, some of the real best players from that league. And whilst, we have to be honest, we may have doubted before, well, the J-League best player, whoop to do, who cares? That just shows the ignorance that we've all got here. And then get offended when people slag off the Scottish League when they don't watch it. However, could Knutson then do the same and bring from Scandinavia or the Norwegian League a similar sort of knowledge? And whilst he wouldn't need to immediately do that because the revamp is nowhere near what Postecoglou had in his hands, he would obviously want to bring a few of his bodies in. I just wonder if you would have that same pool of talent in Norway, or I'm just being ignorant again. I don't know.
I would give him the chance. I think he manages the best team in Norway. I think their league's not long started and he's 8 points clear. So
yes,
happy to, if it's him, then I'd be happy to get behind him. Anybody who comes in, you're going to get behind him. Unless it's Lennon, then I'm going to go and support fucking Spurs. But they definitely wouldn't get back to Lennon. I think Rodgers just makes sense. I think he's a very good manager, but there's a lot of things that would need to be kind of making up today for both sides, I think, and then it would need to just realign the focus and let him run with it and see how he goes. But as I say, it's a very attractive position. Whoever comes in is guaranteed 6 Champions League games, so a good chance you're going to go up against some of the best teams in the world. You get a couple of results there, everybody's talking about you, and that's it. I mean, Ange will be no sooner probably sacked at Spurs than we'll already have a new hero here that's thumping their chest and kissing the badge, and we'll all buy into it, and we can rinse and repeat until the fucking end of time. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it is. As I say, I'm not really keen on Maresca. I think somebody says it'll be that lazy. This is the same board that appointed Neil Lennon in the showers. So yes, we are fucking lazy. The bad feeling there will multiply should Rodgers fail. True, but I don't know if he would fail.
Well, I think in life, Tony, you should always, if you make a mistake, that's absolutely fine. Everyone does, and if you make errors along the way, errors of judgment along the way, that's okay. What would prove to me someone who's an idiot, and that would be on either side of this conundrum, is make the same mistakes twice, making the same errors of judgment twice. And I think there's actually a lot more to be gained from both perspectives. The board know that the real doubting of them began when Rodgers left. So that's how to get that all sort of patched up and resolved is not by acting the same way they did last time. As for Rodgers, this guy's got a psychology degree, does he not? I'm pretty sure he's got a degree in psychology. He will know the error of his ways, and he will definitely want to mastermind a manipulation of getting that back to being him as a hero. And I would definitely be open to doing that. But past the hour mark, it's 7:20 on a Sunday, so I will let you all get back to doing whatever you were doing. If you've got a hangover, hopefully, you don't have too bad a go strain tonight before work tomorrow. Say that again, Tony.
Probably worse if they've been listening to this, but no, it's been a quick hour. It's been a good chat. Hopefully this time next year we're talking about another treble, or for us obviously.
Absolutely.
Brendan Rodgers is here for 3 in a row. Hopefully that's the case, but no, we'll see. Looking forward to next season, and we're looking forward to a break for the travelling. So can relax for a couple of months, and then we go again, because we never stop, to quote an old Aussie guy used to manage us. I forget his name.
Amazing. Tony from the Four Times Podcast. Absolute pleasure, mate. Same time, same place. See you next year. Cheers, guys.
Adios.